Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk.
What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How
could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. We are the mothership of Casual X-Wing. I am your host and captain, Jim Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on some forums out there. I do have sitting next to me my co-pilot, Phil Mead. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing fine. I just like to point out that all of the overhead bins are occupied. There's no space for baggage, so you're going to have to put it under your feet. The Ewok cabin crew is taking a nap in those overhead compartments.
In the overhead, yes.
They're asleep. I just want to be clear that they're sleeping.
So keep it down a little, please.
Yeah,
I guess, Ewok crew.
But, you know.
All right. I also have with us, who managed to roll a die and make it, Jake the Break.
Hey, glad to be back. I spent a lot of time in that back to tank that you set up for me, Jim. That was fantastic. So I've got all that back to fluid in my system. It got rid of all the Waka Wiki fur.
Back to tank from
absolutely.
Back to.
I don't know. I feel like I could take control of the ship. I feel like captain's blood is running through my veins now. It's pretty excellent.
Yeah, I didn't quite clean it out, the back to tank out after my ankle. So hopefully your ankle feels good.
My ankle feels great.
Excellent, excellent. Now we also have with us our protocol droid, J-Bot. How you doing, J-Bot?
Oh, not too bad. I'm glad I finally got a chance to re-insulate some of the hull. So if you guys would mind not messing with the insulation I've installed in the overhead compartments, that would be great.
All right. Is it fur by any chance?
It's very furry.
It's natural insulation, yes.
I was noticing how warm it got in the cabin.
It's all about saving energy. That's what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so I do want to go ahead with a captain's question. Since we've been doing epic stuff, and it's going to be an epic question, and I listened to last week's episode, and we did kind of go on for a captain's question for quite a while, so this one can be short, just kind of balance it out. But what would your guys' favorite epic weapon be? So favorite hard points, or like ordnance tubes, but not main weapons of a ship.
Mm-hmm.
So J-Bot, no, you like the GR-75 main gun, none of that.
Oh, dadgummit.
All right. Who wants to go first? Jake, you're the engineer.
Yeah, I definitely can go first. I like the ion cannon battery. That is probably my favorite. It comes with the epic ship Imperial Raider, and which is of course one of my favorite ships here in Epic. Well, in the game actually. And the ion cannon battery, that's a range 2 to 4 weapon. You roll 4 dice. You have to spend 2 energy from the SCAR to perform the attack. And the reason I like this is because, you have ion weapons in the game, but this one in particular is a very, you can feel the high energy, high voltage power from this weapon, because when it hits you, if it hits you, doesn't even have to hit a number of times. It's just, if it hits you, you suffer 1 critical damage, and then you get an ion token. So even though you're not getting, damage for the amount of dice you roll, it's just like a really heavy hit that fries your circuit board or something. And back in the day, before Epic even existed, one of my favorite cards was actually the Darth Vader crew card. And if you remember what Darth Vader does, he allows you to suffer damage on your ship in order to cause the enemy damage, 1 critical damage. And this kind of reminds me of that, except for the whole fact that you actually don't have to suffer damage to your ship, which is phenomenal. So for me, my favorite hardpoint is the ion cannon battery.
Yeah, I do like it. Range 2 to 4 is nice because a lot of the weapons are range 3 to 5, and then you get close, you just can't do anything because not a lot of ships actually get within range 1 of an epic ship because that's a little too close.
Right.
And 2 to 4 is that kind of sweet spot to me, so I approve of your choice. Though I know you love the Raider, and I have to say that I've actually canceled or denied your request to transfer to a Raider class vessel. Because I need you on board the Tydirium shuttle. So
I wasn't aware you knew of my transfer request.
Yeah, that's like the 5th one this year.
This is really awkward. I sent those confidentially through JBot. They were supposed to be a secure message there. I don't know what happened.
Well, JBot's on my payroll. So.
We all know that all inbound and outbound messages must pass through my security protocols, and sometimes they get opened by accident, or occasionally go to a private server somewhere else. So you never know how these things work. It's a
private server. Yes.
It's a don't worry, I won't be running for president anytime soon. It's perfectly okay.
Supreme Chancellor.
Supreme Chancellor.
I'll run for Supreme Chancellor, and then that might be a problem. Until
I think it might be a problem. I think the current Galactic Emperor wouldn't like that too much.
True. So I just want to let you know that
send any emails, to the Shuttle Tydirium, and you won't have to worry about it.
But just to let you know, your request to be transferred has been denied again.
Okay, understood.
All right. So who wants to go next, JBot or Phil?
I'll go next since he stole mine.
You can also agree. You can say the same.
Yeah, I actually do like the ion cannon battery. The first chance I got to run it was actually the 300, 400, however many point game we had, where it was the CR-90 versus the Raider, and plus of a bunch of other ships. Oh, no, plus actually all 4 ships I think were in that, weren't they? I liked the fact that I could hit another capital ship with it and do critical damage as well.
Right.
I always loved Ion since I first got in the game. It was actually what I ran on my 2 Hawks, and have pretty much loved it ever since. So
even
getting a chance.
Even Hotak, you told us that you liked the Ion, right? Yeah.
Yep. And every chance I get, I love it, and having a gigantic version of one that can hit capital ships and do similar sorts of damage is great. Plus, taking energy away from a capital ship, to me, it can be critical. I mean, it can be very damaging if somebody's playing that very kind of, I'm going to be more maneuverable because I've got plenty of energy, and then they get hit and start losing it because of a shot that you've taken on them. It's great. So
yeah.
I do enjoy it. It's what Jim was saying. It's the right range. It's not point defense. It's not like designed to cripple something at long range. It's just there as that kind of medium range. Don't mess with me. I can really mess you up. Sort of.
And those capital ship critical hits, they're brutal. You know?
Not nice.
Yeah, being able to, as long as you're not destroying a docking clamp. But being able to take hard points in a sense off of another ship with the shot like that is unbelievable. So hitting another capital ship and look, they lost one of their guns there is great.
Yeah.
Or doing things like you can't do reinforce unless there's 3 energy just sitting on the ship, and then doing things like it costs 1 extra energy to do an action, and you start get a couple of those on, and you're just kind of floundering.
Yeah, it doesn't take many of those in combination to really mess up a large capital ship, which is why I like it so much. Why me and Jake agree.
Well, he is an agreeable fellow, so that's good. But speaking of non-agreeable fellows, let's go to Phil Mead. Contrary. I'm just kidding.
I thought you were going to go to someone else.
Yeah, I know. Not Wiki I was thinking of, but wow.
No longer with us.
R3 Astromech.
And the rest of the crew's napping, so.
Yeah, they're in a very, very deep sleep. Yeah. So I think my favorite hardpoint weapon, or non-primary weapon is probably actually single turbo lasers, which may not be a very popular choice, may not be very popular with everyone else, but they do actually pack a decent punch. They have a built-in dice modification. They're not good against high agility ships, obviously, but they are really effective against other capital ships, other huge ships, and I have used them to really put a hurt on other huge ships in a few scenarios that I've played.
Not even just huge, but like some of the large ships as well.
Yeah, anything that's low agility.
Yeah, or even like Y-wings and such.
Vulnerable. Yeah, anything 1 on down, 1 and 0, they're highly vulnerable to this. 2 is sort of an okay target. 3, you're probably wasting your time.
That's like 6 dice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 6 dice against your 4.
I will say I have destroyed X-wings with single turbo lasers. I mean, they get 4 dice. Let's say they've got no modification. You know, they roll and they just crap out. Maybe 1 evade, and I've got like 3 or 4 hits. Boom.
Yeah, they can be very effective.
You know, not one shot it, but I've done enough damage. You know, I've smashed X-wings with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the long range bands are, blessing and a curse. That's why it's, I prefer them for, some situations. Obviously, if you're facing a bunch of fighters, it's not ideal. But in a real, huge ship fight or lots of scenarios, it can really help to have more long-range firepower. So I like single turbos.
Yeah, I think it's really bad for the Rebels to have because they're usually going against the Imperial that are high agility. But the Imperial having it go against the Rebels, there's a B-wing, blam, blam,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Be happy all day to
even against Imperials, sometimes people like to take ordnance carriers in epic missions and epic games because they want, everybody thinks that the natural enemy of a capital ship is bombers with torpedoes because it makes sense thematically. And it can work like that in the game too. I'm not sure that they're the real natural enemy for a huge ship. I usually prefer swarms of smaller ships that attack both angles of the huge ship and just bypass the reinforced token.
Well, I really want to see a game with people with a CR90 that wants to circle and strafe, and I think like a Gazan or a CR90 that's trying to get around a raider would be really cool to see. Like it's sitting there at range 4 to 5.
Huge ship battles, man. You should have huge ship battles.
Yes. That would
huge
be
ships only,
very, very
or
cool.
Mainly huge ships.
Right. So that leaves me, and I actually like a lot of different ones, and I have a lot of various options to pick. But the one I think I do love the best, and I'm actually quite happy that no one did pick it, is the dual laser turret on that's Gazanti only, which I do have. I think Gazanti is probably my favorite. Just it's unique. I like it, but so it's 3 red dice, range 1 to 3. Gazanti only. Spend 1 energy to perform the attack. It shoots 360. 3 red dice at any range 1 to 3. I just like it. I think it's a very good, solid, no drawback attack. Oh well, beyond you can't shoot range 4 to 5, but it's definitely just not a bad turret. I just like it. Very solid.
I think that's an interesting choice. I always get nervous. I mean, I love the 360, but I always get nervous with just the 3 dice. However, it's also only 1 energy to perform the attack, which is not too shabby.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and you know what? It's got 3 more attack dice than the GR75.
Yeah, that's true. Hawk has more firepower than that thing.
Yeah, which is sad.
Yeah, that's good. Cool.
So also I want to point out that I do have a a relatively new microphone, so hopefully our sound quality is better tonight. I did listen last week's, and it was a little on the sketchy side, and we're thinking of actually trying to sell some T-shirts that might improve our software, to get some expensive software that would actually improve the sound quality. So we are thinking about that and kind of debating that on our Facebook page about what you like and all. We want to kind of keep it cheap. You know, the crazier in the front and the backs and stuff raises the price, but something around $20 would be good, we think, to try to raise some money and just kind of make the sound quality, put it back all into the show and make it better for you guys if you want to support us. So we'll have more information on that coming out. Before we get into our main topic, I did want to bring up a PM that I got in the FFG forums, and this is from Kieran Tangari, who's from Cornwall in the UK.
Allegedly.
Also, allegedly.
Sounds like he's from like Alpha Centauri.
Also, a shout out to his friend Pete, who's not a listener yet, but he's working on him. But he sent me a PM saying that he's liking the show and that he loved the hot AC stuff, and that he's actually having a very hard time distinguishing, quote, real X-Wing from hot AC, and just gave us a shout out saying thanks a lot for covering all that. And I'd say there's been a number of people who have actually reached out and said, yeah, I started hot AC just because the Shuttle Tydirium guys. But so that's actually pretty cool, because I think it's a really fun aspect, and I'm glad people actually, listening to us and taking our suggestions. So it's good. I'm glad they're having fun, and thanks a lot. Tal Lover 55, just want to give you a shout out. Have fun in Cornwall playing X-Wing and listening to us.
Thank you.
All right, so now on to our main topic. Ready Room.
Stand by alert. Stand by alert. Time to fire range 15 minutes.
Yahoo! Got him! I got him! Great kid! Don't get cocky! Chewie, get us out of here!
So tonight we're going to be taking a look at Mission 2B, which is called something...
Emergency repairs.
Emergency repairs.
Or not to be.
Not to be.
So this is
that movie.
The mission that you go to if the Imperials won the first mission in the Point of No Return Corvette campaign.
Which Phil knows all about from the Muon tournament on Vassal.
Yes, I am the only Imperial player to have won the first mission. Thank you very much.
Wow, very nice.
I will accept your award.
So how does that work? So you're the only one that gets to play this mission going forward, or like
that's right. So
you just get a random opponent that plays you through this?
No, you keep the same opponent throughout the campaign. So I'm playing.
And did you say? You said it was thought it was just some guy, but it turns out to be someone who's won awards and such.
He's kind of a big deal. He has many X-wing expansions, and his carrying case smells of rich mahogany.
What's his name?
He goes by Mega Silver. I think I recognized him on one of the podcasts. I do not remember which. Maybe Scum and Villainy. But he'd either won or come very close to winning a regional. And he was talking about that. So he's a good player. And he actually did very well in our mission, but we'll get to that.
Excellent. All right. So do we want to go into the background?
I think if we want to do that, we'd have to initiate some kind of protocol droid mode or something.
All right, initiate protocol mode.
Mission T2B, Emergency Repairs.
Crippled by the TIE Patrol, the CR-90 escapes the engagement badly damaged and venting oxygen. Desperate and out of options, the captain sends out a distress call To his surprise, a rebel way station responds. With no recourse but to turn to the Alliance for help, he sets a course for the way station. One nerve-wracking hyperspace jump later, with the ship docked at the orbital way station, an Alliance repair crew moves expertly from deck to deck. WED Treadwell repair droids, trailing along behind them like mobile multi-tools. Midway through the repairs, the station's klaxons howl, signaling an impending threat. The captain of the Corvette grabs the arm of a panicked repairman.
What's going on here?
The Imperials are attacking. We need to evacuate.
What you need to do is get my ship operational. Nobody's going anywhere until you do.
With the rebel repair crew still on board, the Corvette must travel with all possible speed while the rebels cover its escape.
Beautiful. I got chills. I like it. I like it.
Chills.
All right, so Jake, why don't you take us through the mission setup?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So, as you know, we've got our hero. We've got Phil Meade in command of the CR-90. And we have the Imperials, and the Imperials are going... Oh, and I actually almost forgot. The Rebel player who's got the CR-90, he's got a 75 squad points, and he must field a single unique ship as part of his squad, which is kind of cool. For the Imperials, you've got Captain Jonas, which if you don't remember, Captain Jonas is a TIE bomber who's actually got a pilot skill of 6, 2 attacks, 2 evade, 2...
Little known fact that Captain Jonas is actually an ex-member of the Jonas Brothers band.
Yes. He was, what, the 4th member that was kind of the outcast?
Well, no, he was actually one of the main members. I can't remember which one it is, but when their band, got off the top 40 charts, he actually enlisted, and here he is. But you're not allowed.
He felt the call.
Yes, yes. You're not allowed to actually increase his specs. I didn't think.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. He has all those upgrade slots as a TIE bomber, but he can't equip. You can't equip anything to him.
So he's really just a tease with all those slots.
Yeah, he's got squad leader and proton bombs.
Yep. Because what more do you need, really?
Look out.
And then, of course, you got 100 points of other ships then with the Imperials.
Right. He gets 100 points of friends.
100 points of friends.
Hot Imperial action.
Okay, so then the Rebel player, he's going to place his ship. He's stuck in the middle, and he has no shields. That's important. If the force section was crippled during mission 1, then you got to deal the secondary drive failure damage card to the force section. And if the aft was crippled, then you have to do the projector power failure damage card to the aft section. So
now the expert analysis there is that both of those suck.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
I think that's safe to say. Yes.
Yes, and this is the wonder that Phil gets during his T2B mission for having won the first mission.
Now,
I get to kill this.
We should say that secondary drive failure is the 4 section, and that's the one that says every action you want to take costs 1 energy to perform. And the projection power failure on the aft section says if you want to do a reinforce action, you have to have at least 3 energy just sitting on the main card before you can do the reinforce action.
Oh, that is rough right there.
Yeah.
that's
it's ruthless.
I would rather have the crit on the front than the back. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, I think so. So we got this nice crippled CR-90 that Phil destroyed Phil crippled in the first mission, and then we got some special rules here, which is for the CR-90, there's an engine shutdown rule in effect. So during the planning phase of the first 2 rounds, the Rebel player does not assign a maneuver dial to the CR-90, so that thing's going nowhere. During the activation phase of the first 2 rounds, the CR-90 still gets to activate, but it cannot execute a maneuver. Instead, it just gains 3 energy during the gain energy step. And then,
so it's going nowhere fast.
It's going nowhere fast. It's just sucking on some energy and building up reserves. And then we also have potent munitions, which is when a bomb affects the CR-90, apply the bomb's effect twice
and
to
twice
the CR-90.
is bold, so you know there's twice.
Yeah,
they are serious.
Like, pay attention, guys. This is
Captain
important.
Jonas with his proton bomb, and he is going for it.
This is what you do with the proton bomb.
Exactly.
I think they bolded this to say you've got no shot. Like, if this hits, you might as well just throw the ship away and go buy an Imperial one.
Right. Yeah.
You might as well hold on because the CR-90 is burning up, which those are actually Jonas Brothers song titles.
Oh, that was very.
That's really.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You know that.
And I'm proud that I didn't know that.
I had to Google it.
Sure you did.
Don't lie.
Sure you did.
Don't lie.
Sure you did.
Sure,
Hold
you
on.
Googled it.
From Jonas
Okay.
Brothers 2007, Burning Up is a little bit longer from 2008. So
I don't know. I'm fairly certain if we listen hard enough to his new microphone, we could probably hear some playing in the background.
J-Bot, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think I can hear that.
And then just as far as the victory conditions, we have the CR-90 must flee off the neutral edge of the play area, which, again, is going to be kind of a trick after not being able to move for the first 2 turns. And then, of course, the Imperial victory is one section of the CR-90 is crippled. Now, again, that's not going to seem, to me, it doesn't seem so difficult, seeing as it's already got a critical drive failure or a power failure.
And the shields are down.
And the shields are down. Like, it just, to me, just on reading it, it seems like things are going well for the Imperials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you did miss one special rule. It says here, Rochambeau, when you start this mission, someone has to kick the rebel player in the balls.
Man, I hate these games. Why do we play this?
Then you're ready to go.
J-Bot was saying when we were playing this tonight, he was like, man, what is wrong with FFG? If I was starting this, playing this mission, to actually think about buying this thing, I would not want to buy this ship because
would not buy this ship if this was my test run for it.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, this is pretty much the textbook, kill situation for a Corvette, for any huge ship. It's you have ships potentially approaching from both sides on your midline.
Now, remember that the CR-90 does get the Tabana gas that it can actually use, but also know that when it uses it, it can actually dish out to the subsystems and such on that particular round.
Well, you can't just put it directly on the subsystems.
Well,
you can crack it.
So I had someone on the forum say that he felt that you busted it after the allocation of energy, so that it's kind of vague when you actually go through with that.
Yeah. I think that's basically right. But you should be able to do it in the first turn and then have that energy available.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So just be careful about all that and what you're doing with it is what I'm saying. So, yeah. It is rough, and the way I thought about it was actually the Tabana gas gives you 3 energy, and hey, guess what? The rear section has 3 shields. So that's a perfect time to actually, bust that out and redo the shield. Or if you kept most of your energy from the first round, the second, you bust out the Tabana gas. The second round, you can give 5 energy to the front shields, which is another good thing to do.
Right. Yeah, it all depends on what the enemy is looking to do. What the Imperials' attack run looks like, and where your crit is. You might want to protect that section.
Yeah, I do recommend actually using the Tabana gas because I know, when I thought about the first session, hey, you're trying to deliver the gas, at this point, screw it. You're getting the raw end of the deal here, and you need to use that energy to pretty much pump up your shield. So So I think 2 rounds you're sitting there with just energy. You can you can get your full rear shields to full and your front shields up 5. That's doing a pretty good task.
Right. And you'll still have your primary weapon shots during that time. One thing that I'll say is that it also depends on what your enemy is flying at you, what you should do with your energy. So if your opponent is, let's say, flying, 2 decimators at you, I might want to put the energy into single turbo lasers instead of the shields and try to blast one of them off the table.
True.
Mm-hmm. That's a very optimistic scenario. I don't think anyone has ever flown 2 decimators as the Imperial in this. But if you're facing a list of TIE bombers, which are heavily loaded with ordnance, or TIE Punishers, even better.
Yep.
Then it could be in your interest to charge up the guns and try to take one of them off the board.
Yes.
And that might give you more bang for your bucks in terms of like how much damage you're actually going to prevent to your ship.
Now, I think strategy is pretty important when you get an overall idea of what you want to do for this particular mission. And I think for the rebels, there's basically 2 main strategies you want to go with. You want to go with either offensive, nail the heck out of them before they can attack you, or defensive, such as, I don't know, Biggs Darklighter and such. So
Biggs is actually a really good idea to bring in this mission as the rebels. Because he does work for the Corvette.
You really do not want people shooting at you. I'd much rather take hits on Biggs.
Right. You want to keep their attention off the Corvette as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, there's a few different things you can do as well. But like with the delaying idea, with Biggs, and also the reinforce action from the CR90, one of the things that you can do is take, say, was it R2F2, which is takes an action and it increases your agility by 1. So let's say you have Biggs, he does a focus, but then you can actually use the force section of the CR90 and do a coordinate action, giving Biggs the ability to activate his astromech. So he's got 3 green dice, 4 at range 3. And he's able to, get a focus for it. So that's pretty good, though.
Right, that'll probably, go a good way to keeping him alive.
We did play that tonight with J-Bot, because I made 2 lists and such, and J-Bot kind of took my list, and that was one of the ones from talking on the FFG forums. That was kind of what I did. But he did have some pretty crappy die roll. I think like all his Biggs dice, so a lot of range 3 attacks. So he's got 4 green die and a focus, and he rolled, I think his best roll was one evade and a focus.
No, it was like 1 focus.
1 focus.
Yeah, your first range 3 shot took off the shields. Took off 2 shields. So.
Right. If you roll like blank focus evade.
Yep.
Like every time he rolled his dice, and a lot of times at range 3, and he would just roll that, and it was.
And what were you flying against that? TIE fighters.
TIE fighters. So. If we want to go in the lists, well, one other option I thought for just defensive, and I'll tell you the list I brought. I kind of wanted to go in that idea, was to take ion torpedoes.
Right.
Because if you go with ion torpedoes, you can really slow down an incoming enemy that's all kind of together.
Yeah, I think so you're basically talking about the 3 or 4 main strategies here. It's all about taking potential damage off of the Corvette. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can prevent damage to the Corvette by killing enemy ships. Mm-hmm. So this would be like a maximum aggression list, where you fill out your list with what you might normally consider glass cannons. So a really good example of this would be rookie pilots, PS2 X-Wings.
Or Z95s.
Z95s depends.
With
like
ordnance and
they can
guidance
put a lot
chips.
of dice out there. Well, if you gave them ordnance, yeah, that's one thing.
Yeah, Z95s with guidance chips and ordnance could pretty much alpha strike.
Yeah, we gotta worry about getting your target locks off correctly. That might be a difficult.
Yeah, you have to go for
You have to make
probably
sure that
the high
skill.
PS generics.
Yeah, at least. If not, Blunt and Aaron Kraken.
Yeah.
At that point, I might just want to go for a more reliable or consistent damage from my, X-Wing or something. But anyway, maximum aggression is really what you want if you're trying to take off a ship early. And you don't really care if they're going to be shooting at you, because more shots at those escorts who are really aggressive are also fewer shots directed against a Corvette. So, one way to go at this is definitely pure offense. And you might want to even consider charging your guns instead of your shields in that situation. But that's also very situational. A defensive setup, you can do a lot of building to really squeeze every last drop of defense out of Biggs. One way to do this, and this is how I built my squad when I played this as Rebels, is I had Biggs with R2, F2, and Stealth Device, and I had a VCX 100 Lothal Rebel with Jyn Erso and Jan Ors. Okay. So, Jyn Erso is new. She's the lead character in Rogue One.
Wait, say that again? Because I thought you could only have one unique pilot.
Well, it says you
must take a single unique pilot.
Yeah, and I did. Biggs.
But did you take a second one though with Jan Ors, or did you put her as a crew on something?
Both crew.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure that you can't take more than one.
Yeah, the way it reads, it says you just you must field a single unique ship. Doesn't mean a maximum of one, but I know what you're saying, J-Bot.
Yeah, the way I read it is, I know it sounds like he didn't do it anyway, but it sounds like you must use a single. It doesn't say at least one. It says one. To me, when I read that, it says only one. Because
that's actually interesting.
Yeah, because if I went to pure defense and I could have more than one, then I would go Biggs and I would use Jan Ors like you're talking about, plus a couple other named pilots that you could squeeze into 75.
Jan Ors crew on a Kyle Katarn Hawk. I thought about that too.
And it's like you can do some pretty disgusting things with it, and that's why I was like, I can only have a single one. I'll just take whatever Jim's put together. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to mull over a one pilot that might be able to make it, since Big seems like the kind of obvious choice.
Looking through the rest of these rules, I think me and Jake's interpretation is correct, because in T3B, the Rebel player cannot field more than one unique ship. So their language is different there.
Yeah, that's true.
Although it is slightly different, Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can take more than one unique pilot here, but it's not super important.
I wasn't sure. I thought about going with Horton for the ion torpedo
for ion torpedoes. They're a reliable ion torpedo shot.
Yeah.
The thing about ion torpedoes is that the enemy has to sort of cooperate with you by bunching up. And I'm not sure how often they're going to, do you that favor if they know you're coming at them with Horton packing ion torpedoes.
Right. We in our game, obviously, we played with ion torpedoes, which I thought was rather funny, because Jim basically made the critical mistake on the ion torpedo run, which is, I'm going to run my rookie, pilot skill 1 academy out front, perfectly in range for my guy to jump in and target lock him with a pilot skill 2, and then have all the rest of his guys swarm up around him.
Yeah,
and Jim's like, what was I thinking? That was like the dumbest thing ever.
I was kind of chatting, and I just wasn't thinking about setting up. I put my guys and I spaced them out. I thought decently.
I even asked him, why didn't you put him way out there on the wing? Because that's the only one that I could have possibly gotten a target on.
Because I thought about it, I was like, the Academy pilot, he's like the scrub, stick him front and center. He's the one who's going to die. So I remember thinking like,
well, he did die. That was the best
think
shot I
about-
had all night.
I didn't think about like it's the ion torpedo. I thought like, oh yeah, just put him front and center, and everybody else is important. You know, they won't focus on him. And I totally didn't even think about the ion torpedo. I was just like, yeah. Scrub, go in the front. Vanguard gets killed. Yeah.
Right.
And I was an idiot, so I wasn't thinking very much when I said
Yeah.
that.
The
was
best shot I
very
had all
candid.
night, four hit die, and he missed every single one of his evades, so that rookie evaporated like
Nice.
the very first torpedo. Like, yes, I've got a chance. No, didn't really have a chance, but it was a nice opening.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was a little worried, and then everybody evaded, but everybody ionized. Sorry.
Let me just finish describing my build for this. So, remember we had Biggs with stealth device and R2F2. We had a Lothal Rebel with Gen Erso crew, Janors, and also fire control and dorsal turret.
You guys are using future cards.
That's right.
Yeah, so were you, I think.
No.
Ion torpedoes.
Well, no, but future cards. You're saying Orso.
Oh yeah, that's right. It hasn't released. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, we all know what it is. It's fine. We're playing on Vassals, so I hardly even notice the difference. Anyway, so
it's that kind of attitude that keeps you as a co-pilot. Sorry.
Jin Erso, she is a crew card, and she reads. Let me pull her up here. Action: choose one friendly ship at range 1 to 2. Assign one focus token to that ship for each enemy ship inside your firing arc at range 1 to 3. And you can't assign more than 3 tokens this way. So, I had her on the Lothal Rebel, and I used that to load up Biggs with a lot of focus tokens.
Yeah.
And between that and the idea was that the Corvette would also be giving Biggs an extra action to R2F2 or do another focus, and one of those focuses would get converted to an invade by Janors. So we would have like 2 or 3 focus tokens, evade token, R2F2 pumping up to agility 3, stealth device, agility 4, natural. Very hard to hit. So that was my plan for making it through this scenario as the Rebels. Just stack all that defense on Biggs and try to keep him in the way of the enemy ships. Tank all that damage.
It's just odd to me to go with the Ghost, but all right. I mean, it is 4 attack die, so.
Oh yeah, Ghost did a lot of work too. I mean.
Yeah. All right, so my list going defensive was basically I didn't think you could go with 2 unique, and so I went with Biggs with R2F2, integrated astromech, and then a Gold Squadron pilot with extra munitions and ion torpedo, and then I had just enough points to basically go with a rookie and an R2 astromech for integrated astromech. But I wasn't even sure if that was needed, to be honest. But I kind of wanted just another ship that could pound through, like an X-wing firing 3 attack dice can hit stuff, and the idea of just like Z95s against like TIE fighters or whatnot is just horrible. So I really thought something that could really just put the damage through.
Nice. So those are some good examples of Rebel builds. You want to talk about Imperial build strategy for this? What'd you have for your Imperial squad?
So I went with I kind of went with classics. I wanted something that was going to be fun and interesting, and with Captain Jonas there, I wanted to have something that could take advantage of Captain Jonas, but I didn't want to go full tilt. Like TIE bombers and such. So, and the idea of the double bombs intrigued me with the FAQ recently for cluster bombs. So I went with what is it? Death Winds? What is the Imperial TIE bomber? I gotta pull it up here because I've never flown her before. Deathfire, excuse me, Deathfire. And went with Deathfire, extra munitions, plasma torpedo, and cluster bombs. And so this was basically the idea is the plasma torpedoes were the cheapest ones I can get. Maybe knock down some shields. Oh, and guidance chip, and that'd be good with the no native dice modification, but I did have it from Jonas, and the idea of if I can get a cluster bomb off, that would be so cool, just to kind of like double cluster bomb. So I had to kind of even figure out what the heck does that mean, and that is roll double damage, double dice.
Yeah, if you can get those cluster bombs off, that it can be a lot of damage. It's a lot of red dice that you're rolling.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, wait. Right. So with Deathfire, I thought that was pretty fun. I wanted to kind of use Deathfire because I haven't used her yet, and the Imperial Vet. I wanted to use Deathfire, so I thought that was good. And the rest of it, I just went classic TIE fighters. I went with Scourge, which gives you an extra attack die if the defender is damaged, which the game starts off with one section being damaged. So, hello, Scourge is good. Then I went with, let's see, who else was it? Youngster.
Right.
Youngster with Rage. And so basically, I wanted to try out that whole thing. I've never used Youngster or Rage, and I kind of wanted to give it a try. Where basically all TIE fighters in range 1 to 3 can use Rage as ability. So I thought that'd be good. I then went with Wampa. Wampa is a very meta list when used with the Emperor, but basically when I attack, if I get a critical hit, I can cancel all my attacks, and if I have a critical hit, I deal 1 face-down damage to the defender. And I thought, hey, if he's got reinforce up or whatever, that could be great to just kind of push the damage through.
Yeah.
It's just a TIE fighter. If I get that in, that could be fun. And next was Wing Gundark. So Wing Gundark never gets played. Just those people who know, PS5, when you're attacking at range 1, you may change 1 hit to a critical. I thought Epic is probably the place to be, chasing after a CR90, getting in range 1, and punching that crit through. I thought, Wing Gundark, this is your moment to shine.
Yeah.
And I had just enough points, 12 left, to do an Academy pilot.
Nice.
So I thought that was a good mix, of a number of ships.
Yeah. When I flew as the Imperials, I was considering a few different options. I thought about loading up TIE bombers with either ordnance or bombs. So like either missiles and torpedoes or just bombs, because the double bomb effect is very tempting. And I did think about just flying, 3 or 4 TIE bombers with proton bombs. But I decided it was a bad idea because I think that TIE bombers are in that range where they're still kind of vulnerable to the guns of a Corvette, the single turbos and the main gun. Like, they don't really have enough agility dice to be actually safe. So I was worried about losing too many on the way in and then just not having enough to really push the damage through that I needed in the end. So I went with a TIE Fighter Force. I had 5 Obsidian Squadron pilots. That's the pilot skill 3 TIE Fighter that no one takes. I had
I've used them a lot.
Obsidian Squadrons? Really?
Yeah, actually, back in the day, they were great because everyone used to go Academy, and you would just use that extra point for Obsidian. You could go before them, and it was totally worth it.
Right, yeah. So, Obsidian Squadron pilots, the TIE fighters that some people took 3 years ago to out-pilot skill the Academy pilots, maybe? Then I had Hal Runner and Youngster. Youngster with Rage, just the same way that, that you did.
I heard that's good.
It is good. I don't think I actually used it in my mission, but we'll get to that, I guess. And I split these up. So as the Imperial, you can deploy in the top of the map or the bottom of the map. These are the short edges. What I did was I deployed 2 Obsidians with Youngster, or 3 Obsidians with Youngster and 2 Obsidians with Hal Runner. And my thinking was that my opponent would probably prioritize Hal Runner, because that's the more popular and seemingly more dangerous, unique TIE fighter there. So sticking here with this smaller amount of Obsidian squadron pilots would sort of... My thinking was that my opponent would divert towards the less dangerous force, just because Hal Runner is a big name, big celebrity TIE pilot. And that would give youngsters Mini Swarm more cover to get close to the Corvette and kill it. So that was my thinking there. And I was also playing against Z95s. So I took Obsidians because I was hoping to outpilot skill PS2 ships, because I was expecting to see, low pilot skill rebels here. Yeah, exactly. So, same reason that you took them all that time ago. And then my opponent showed up with pilot skill 4 Z95s. So, yeah, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Those are wasted points. But, oh well. So my opponent had, let's see, 4 Z95s, 4 Talus squadrons, and then his unique pilot was Lieutenant Blount with guidance chips, assault missiles, and Deadeye. So this is also partly why I did the split deployment, because I knew that Blount was going to drop an assault missile in the middle of whatever formation I made. And I figured that he would be going after Hal Runner, so I gave Hal Runner the smaller count of wingmates, so that, sort of divert the opponent towards the less dangerous group.
Right.
So, what other Imperial builds do you think would be good in this mission? Do you guys think?
Well, I think a TIE Phantom would pretty much be broken.
Really?
I think a TIE Phantom would just kind of rip apart, the CR90. I think it could get through anything you throw at it, and that 4 dice, 5 at close range is just gonna kill too much.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it does have a lot of attacks, and with the stealth, it can kind of slip in a little bit easier. I mean, what would you do about Biggs though with the Phantoms? Like if Phil had his Biggs build,
just keep Biggs out of your arc.
Yeah, get close enough for range 1 and light him up.
Or just kill him.
Yeah, or just light Biggs up.
Yeah,
because I mean the trick with Biggs is he has to be within range 1 of the CR90, which means he's pretty kind of predictable where he's going to be.
Unless flying circles around the CR90.
Avoid the Biggs effect by just keeping him out of your primary arc. If you're a TIE Phantom and you're super maneuverable.
So do you think that you'll be bringing TIE Phantoms in your next match, Phil?
No.
Good man.
I have some sort of honor.
He has integrity.
Yeah.
And he also wants to maintain a position on the ship.
That's right. I would get kicked off.
He has honor. He has honor. Of course he wouldn't use Phantoms. That's great.
Yeah. So
he doesn't want to be airlocked. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought, I'm not an Imperial player, so I don't know all the different ships, but I would think anything that with ordnance would be a general kind of good shot. The idea with bombers, I told Jim that his 100-point tournament bomber list probably would have been fine because it's got
with the Punishers. You mean?
No. His was old, just
just the
TIE bombers. Yeah,
and old TIE.
So what do you think about that? Would you use it? Would you even consider a Punisher in this mission?
I still think
it's
it's too many
vulnerable
points.
to the
Yeah, I think
Corvette
it's too many
guns.
points. Yeah.
If you
it's
get
vulnerable
killed by
to
those
the
single
slug.
turbo lasers,
Yeah.
you'll sink like 30 points into it, and then it'll get taken off the board before it gets a shot, probably.
Yeah.
At range,
I mean, that's just
4
like
or 5.
that's a classic downfall of the Punisher, is that it's just too many points to one vessel that's not invincible. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think his 4 TIE bombers would do pretty good because they had ordnance on both sides. You had the missiles for kind of that first shot, and if you attack from both sides, it's hard to really choose a reinforced point anyway. And then they could obviously drop I think, what did they use, seismics or something for their bombs?
Although,
I can't remember what he used, which doesn't do massive amounts of damage, but 2 points for, from 4 different bombers, if they're timed well, can destroy either side of it, really.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of damage that can be output pretty quick from those.
The other thing about ordnance in this mission, it's specifically, missiles, torpedoes, is that when you target lock the Corvette, you have to target lock a specific section. So you're telegraphing your target to the CR90 driver, so they can put the reinforced token, more reliably where the real threat is.
Hey, think of that.
If they can actually put the
if they have enough energy
token out, if it's
if
rear
they're playing
grid.
that full defense, like I'm just gonna charge up the shields and play reinforced, then I guess they can. So how many turns does it take to get the CR90 off if you just gun it for 4 straight every turn? About 6 turns, because you got 2 to sit stable.
Yeah, that's right.
Then 4 to get by, 5 maybe to get all across. I was trying to figure out while I was playing, so it's just out of curiosity more than anything else.
It's probably 5 or 6, but
yeah, I had obviously played the Rebels, and I felt like, and Jim knows this, maybe this is just my pessimistic attitude toward it, but I didn't see any real solid opportunity for the CR90 to get away. Even just pure weight of fire, if you're playing defensive, feels like it eventually would just overlay, whatever you tried to do. I got bigs, I got them in the perfect position. Eventually, one side or the other is going to be able to get clean shots without shields, and eventually Jim had a point where he could have gotten clean shots on either side of my ship without shields, so it wouldn't matter with reinforce anyway.
Yeah, part of the Rebel strategy here has to be dividing up your enemy's attention between the 2 different parts of your ship, if possible. So, when I was playing my mission, I actually maneuvered towards the threat. And my opponent sort of blew past the front section eventually and didn't have shots, and sort of had to wheel around to try and get another shot on the front section instead of just attacking the rear section.
Right.
You have to. It's all about mitigating that fire on those sections. And the other thing that you have to remember here is that the Rebels actually have a serious point advantage in this mission. If you just look at the raw squad totals.
Right, because of the CR90.
The Corvette comes out to about 125 points. Mm-hmm. So even if you prorate that at, actually being worth 100 squad points, then
you're doubling the Imperials almost.
Yeah, you've got 175 points to 100 Imperial points plus a stupid Jonas build.
Yeah.
Right, but you also have completely different sort of tactical dynamics than you have in just a normal 100-point match.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
I only have to do
that's why it's a balanced match. Or,
I only have to do a smaller
not
points.
Awful. That's why the Rebels actually have a disadvantage, is because they lose if they just have one section of the CR90 crippled, and they start with a bunch of disadvantages.
A bunch of disadvantages. Yeah. The thing I don't, not that it necessarily matters a huge amount, but I don't understand the double damage on the bombs. I don't want. Where did that come from as an idea?
It's just genius.
It's kind of a trap. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's a good way to really do it in the mission.
So I went ahead and actually had the TIE bombers on one side and all the TIE fighters on the other, and and J-Bot deployed all his fighters on the TIE fighter side. And it just took a long time, actually, for the TIE bombers to just kind of race full speed across. But then they went like one forward straight, one around, and I fired a plasma torpedo and knocked out shields and kind of got, like, I think, a crit or hit some hull. And then he tried to turn in towards me and missed by like half an inch from ramming my Deathfire, my TIE bomber, but it was a miss. So at that point, I was able to go 3 straight, get in the other side of the ship, do an action focus, and drop my cluster bombs. And my cluster bombs destroyed the front section of the CR-90.
Yeah,
So
it did like 8 points of damage. So
well, no, actually, we didn't even get that far because with the
we
round,
didn't finish the turn.
the round you tried to ram me got you at like range 1 of both my TIE bombers shooting, and it was like pew 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 pew, and it just, I think I had like an action or a focus on them, so I ended up rolling okay, not bad, and damaged you some more, and then I Deathfire rolled over you, dropped the bombs out the rear, and we got to the so I'm rolling 4 dice per cluster bomblet, and you hit, and I dropped them all on top of the front section. So I think we got to like the second section. I did 3 damage to you after doing like 1 on the front.
Yeah, well, we did the first 2 bombs, and you had done like 6 or 7 points. We didn't need to roll the last one because there's nothing there. And to me, it's like there wasn't a real like tactical move mistake there. There was no, at that point there was nothing I could have done because the back end was gone too. It's like my only real chance was let me turn in. Hopefully, I've got just enough range to at least crush one ship, and we'll have a shot. But at that point, it was. There was nowhere for me to go. It's like if I go straight, I'm basically right in front of him either way. So that's where I felt like there's very little tactically you can do with the CR-90 other than say, am I going to go full defense or am I going to go full offense? And I don't think defense works. Like, has anybody run this mission trying any of these crazy defensive builds for the Rebels and actually succeeded? So what did you run, and what did your opponent do?
So I ran the build I was talking about earlier, the Lothal Rebel with Jan Urso and Jan Orso, the fire control on the dorsal turret, and then Super Bigs with the R2F2 stealth device. And my opponent, which is my brother, he ran 5 TIE bombers, 2 of which were Gamma Squadron vets with homing torpedoes, and 2 of which were...
Wait, homing torpedoes? Homing missiles?
Homing missiles, yes. Homing torpedoes will come out in Wave 11.
Gotcha.
Then you had 2 Scimitar Squadron with plasma torpedoes. All 4 of those TIE bombers had long-range sensors to, immediately lock the CR-90. And they also, the 2 Gamma squadrons had ion bombs, and everybody had extra munitions also. And then the 5th TIE bomber is Captain Jonas. So he deployed all those together on the bottom of the map, and the problem here was that for me anyway was that Biggs is actually, because of that new FAQ that came out, Biggs doesn't actually work that well against any sort of
bombers.
Right. And so if we had played this like 2 weeks ago, it would have been piece of cake, because those bombers, I could like put Biggs on the near the Corvette and just, tank endless amounts of damage from those, the primary weapons of those TIE bombers, or they would have had to target lock him. There's, tons of shenanigans that would make that very, very difficult for him. But because of that FAQ, I could not rely on Biggs to tank damage, because my brother would have just, he would have just target locked the Corvette, and once he's in range of the Corvette, he's under no obligation to attack Biggs. So instead of hanging out near the Corvette, I sent Biggs and the Lothal Rebel at the group of TIE bombers aggressively, and I sort of positioned them so that after their first move, they would be sort of in the way of the scimitar squadrons, so that they couldn't, just do another full speed maneuver towards the Corvette. So that's another way you buy time for the Corvette, is blocking the enemy movement.
Right.
So he's able to do that because the Lothal Rebel was his big ship. He didn't take any shots at Biggs with missiles and torpedoes on the first pass. So Biggs tanked a lot of damage there, and the Lothal Rebel was, tanky enough as it is. So he just, took a bunch of primary weapons fire and hardly noticed. At the same time, I was able to put decent damage on him in the next couple turns, as they sort of had a little scrum as the TIE bombers sort of tried, weaved around my ships, and I sort of turned to follow him. And my brother did get off a good ion bomb, but it was after Biggs had already Koigran turned, so Biggs was headed back towards the Corvette when he was ioned, and the Lothal Rebel, I think, was just barely out of the ion bomb's range, so he's able to he didn't really get ionized, and he was able to stay more or less on target. So, nice thing, what I was able to do was I was able to put enough damage on TIE bombers with my escorts, so that I was able to pick a few ships off with the Corvette, with the main guns. So what I did was I used the Tabana gas early, put a bunch of shields. I saved up energy, and we had randomized the critical hit that you get at the beginning of the mission. So I got the 4-section one that makes it so that you have to pay an energy to do an action. So I built up.
You randomize, and he got the rear. Yeah.
Good. So I saved up energy on the first turn and didn't do any actions. So on the second turn, I was able to fully charge up, or mostly charge up the four shields, to bring them up to 4 shields. The four section had 4 shields. Sorry, that's a little weird on the tongue there. And between the Corvette's main guns and one single turbo laser that I got off, I was able to take out one scimitar squadron before it fired, and I was able to take out Captain Jonas on the next turn, so that he wasn't able to give out his bonuses. And
dope.
Yeah, so that left 3 TIE bombers. I took 3 torpedo and missile shots on the 4-section. But I had a reinforced token when they landed, and I had full shields at that point, or almost full shields. So I was able to take those hits, and not take too much hull damage. I think I got down to probably 5 or 6 hull at that point. And then on the subsequent turns, I just worked on the TIE bombers a little more. They weren't able to get too many more torpedo shots off on me. I was able to kill another bomber before it unloaded, using a combination of the Corvette and Biggs and the Lothal Rebel. So I left my brother with just 2 TIE bombers against a Corvette, and at that point he was so close that he couldn't keep my front section in his arc. He had to fly over the ship and then loop around, and that bought me enough time to put more shields on the front section, take more pot shots, and I was able to get away. I was able to kill his last scimitar, and we ended with I think one Gamma Vet with no good options to attack the Corvette, and I think he. I forget if we finished out, but or just conceded at that point, but it was pretty clear.
Yeah, you see, I think when you go with a bomber ordnance, it gets very hit or miss. So, it's a matter of, can you kill the bombers, and the bombers only get 2 ordnance shots each, and can you get it off? Can you not? It just kind of makes it a little nervous to me, which is why I just didn't want to do it. I kind of went with the 2 TIE bombers I had. One of them had an ordnance, one of them was Jonas. And the rest were like 5 TIE fighters, I thought, were with unique abilities that were kind of interesting enough to kind of maybe push through and do some damage. And when I totally screwed up and he ionized, killed my academy and ionized 3, and then later on killed another TIE fighter, and I was kind of left with basically 2 TIE fighters to kind of chase after him and be pinging him. But that one crit in the rear, we couldn't reinforce well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then, he kind of was hurting with the split attacks. Like the TIE fighters were attacking the rear while the bombers were attacking the front.
That's right.
And then the TIE bomber jumped in and dropped the bomblets, the cluster bombs, and that really screwed him. Cluster bombs won me the game, quite literally. It was like, ooh, thank you, FAQ.
Oh yeah, there's no way.
Oh yeah, the FAQ does help there quite a bit.
I mean, that's the thing for me is. I could see you doing the bombers again and just saying, to hell with ordnance on the front. I'm just going to take cluster bombs on 4 bombers if you can get away with it point-wise, because, I mean, each one of those was it 2 dice per cluster? And that because of the rule in this thing, that's what I'm saying, because of the rule in this, it becomes 4 die per cluster. That's 12 dice if you can relatively easily land every single one of them on the ship, and yeah, that's a pretty good shot on 4 bombers. It only takes really 1 or 2 of those to devastate that thing. So I think it would be doable. I mean, you would know, you kind of like, okay, I know what the trick is. I know he's going to try here.
Well,
try and get clusters on me, so I got to do whatever I can to avoid it. But whether you can or not, I
think it'd be hard to pull off, because I found myself like with the TIE bombers, I was like, going range 1 from the board edge at 6 feet wide. I found myself, 3 rounds going full tilt straight forward, and I, still was not in shooting range.
Yeah.
And you just kind of
you have to get through shooting range and the other side in order to drop off those cluster bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Punisher? I know this isn't the best choice for it, but isn't there a Punisher that can push him out the front?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Death Rain? Or is that...
Death Rain.
Yeah, I think it's Death Rain.
No, wait. Oh, I should pull
Death Rain, I think. Deathfire Rain?
No, I think Death Rain is actually the one that I used tonight.
Deathfire?
No, it's
Death something.
Yeah, I'm
Rain.
looking at here. It's Death Face.
Yeah, Deathfire is what I used, and maybe it is Death Rain.
Dark.
Yeah. Oh, that's
dark.
right. Death Face is coming out in Wave 11. Sorry.
Oh, Deathfire is what I use. Death Rain is the TIE Punisher. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. I wonder if there's like if that's a family name, Death.
Yeah. They're sisters.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was flying my Imperial list in the Muon event, what happened was my opponent split his Z95 defenders. So he had, if you remember, he had a Lieutenant Blount with assault missiles, and he did go after Hal Runner with those. And he had 3 more Z95s. He had 1 Z95 with Blount, and he had 3 Z95s that faced off against the youngster group on the bottom of the map. And he did manage to block me pretty good with those when we had our little pass at the bottom. So I actually lost some good firing opportunities with those TIE fighters. But I did. I think Hal Runner survived the assault missile, and of course my Hal Runner is is more resilient than usual. And that Hellrunner actually managed to get some long-range shots off against the Corvette before it actually moved. So because TIE fighters have a straight 5, and if you start at range 1, at the maximum of range 1, you can actually fly. If you do 2 straight 5s, you can be in firing range at range 3 of the Corvette on turn 2 before it even moves. And it doesn't have, at that point, you don't have enough chances to, you don't have enough energy to put shields up on both sides. You're still very vulnerable as the Corvette at that point. So I took shots at the front section, took it down to 4 hull on that turn, and then the game, and that was turn 2. So my youngster team is getting blocked up by Z95s. I got 2 TIE fighters in to shoot at the Corvette on the top. Howler does go down that round after her shot. But then on turn 3, I'm looking at this diagram here, I think I had 6 TIE fighters with firing arcs on the Corvette, plus Jonas coming in from the front. And it's just all over at that point because there's the Corvette just didn't have any good options to survive. And I was able to shoot down the front section without too much fuss. I think Mega Silver recovered shields on the front because it would probably have cost too much energy to reinforce, and he didn't have any really good options there. And that's the way that went, man. It was over very quickly. Because this mission because really it is.
Yeah,
it's
and that's
quite
what
brutal to the rebels under.
Yeah,
almost
that's what I
every
feel like it
circumstance.
is that it's just heavily leaned towards the Imperials on this, which it should be by the story. But it sounds like when when you got it, you had, I guess, in a sense, the perfect storm of, it's all low agility ships that are perfect, picking for the guns that are on this
Mid-agility
thing at the
ships. I
time.
mean, the TIE bombers it's still agility 2, so.
Oh yeah, I mean, but they're not, they're not the.
They're not, yeah.
Interceptors.
The difference between 2 and 3 is pretty big for single turbo lasers.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I think it's the Imperials' game to lose, and I think that the Imperials, I think, going, let's say, like with all TIE bombers and such, you do enter the realm of being able to lose it all.
Right.
Like
if you get a little unlucky and the Rebel has a good list, and things can go against you.
Like I totally screwed up, and J-Bot hit me with the ion torpedo, and ionized most of my guys, and vaporized one, and and then killed another TIE fighter, and I was like, I am screwed.
I had another clean shot with that second ion torpedo, or whatever it was too, and it. And it just fizzled
so
out.
He comes up,
it didn't roll very well.
So he ionized me, and he moved forward and kind of target locked one of my guys. And I had higher pilot skill because I was PS6, PS7, PS5, and my first guy opens fire and gets a critical hit in on the Y-wing. Crit is blinded pilot. He can't attack.
Yep. So I had to wait till like the next turn, and he took off towards the, because he finally could move. So he takes off towards the Corvette.
Yeah.
IK turned knowing he was going to do this, and had I got a perfect tailpipe shot, and like basically the guidance chip was my hit. I was like, hey.
No, you had 2 hits.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The guidance chip was the second one, so it was like, I got 1 hit on 4 dice. Hey, the guidance chip. Yeah, hey, I got 1 more.
And
which
I rolled
you
decently.
easily avoided, so it was not tough. But,
not easily. I did roll 2 evades. I wouldn't say it was easy, but
yeah, but I mean, come on, that was the only shot I had. After that, I couldn't catch up. Like I'd stressed the ship, so I really was never going to catch up to you again. But if I had held him there, I still think basically it would have changed what I would have done with the Corvette. I wouldn't have tried to dive so hard towards towards the bombers, I probably would have gone the other direction, towards that side, because it basically had been wiped out almost completely, and given me more time to get my ships towards the bombers. But not being able to do that, I was kind of stuck. I was like, well, now I'm between both of them with no real chance to play defense anymore.
Yeah, but Biggs did live, so Biggs didn't die.
Yeah, Biggs did.
That's actually really important, because if you lose a unique pilot in the campaign, then you don't get him for later missions, and there is definitely you probably want Biggs in the last mission of the campaign, if nowhere else.
Right. The thing that's funny to me is, so basically I came into this mission with the rear end crippled, based on the crit we took randomly, and then the front end basically got obliterated so badly that one of the cluster bombs didn't hit anything. It just whistled right through the back end of the ship. So I don't know where my ship's supposed to be at for mission 3. Like, am I in an escape pod? Is that what we start out with, or is there a new ship that they're going to give me? Like, we just find one randomly, or?
Yeah, that is kind of a tricky thing, isn't it? What is supposed to have happened if you lose?
Right, they blown me up twice.
Yeah, and even in it's another question for mission T3A, which is the next one we're going to do. The Imperial victory here is to actually destroy the CR-90.
Oh,
that's a way you can win the mission, just completely destroying it.
Yeah.
So, how is there a next mission? I don't get it. Whatever.
Right. So, yeah, I do say that I think Deathfire with cluster bombs was my MVP.
Yeah, if you land those cluster bombs in this mission, it's crazy. So much damage.
Oh,
so many red dice.
It was a lot of red dice, and I still had my eye on was going to drop too.
Very unfair. I still don't understand the point of it, really.
Well, I was happy to use cluster bombs against J-Bomb, because he would drop them before, and they would bounce off my windshield and not hit.
Oh yeah, he's happy to rub in the fact that they've got a new rule after I stop using them. After I swear off of these, suddenly they're worth a fortune.
Yep, you sold the templates, so I was happy to try them out. I had not used Death Rain at all, and Death Rain's special ability pretty much allowed me to use them, or else they wouldn't have worked. So I was happy to use Death Rain for the first time, and Cluster Bomb. Deathfire for the first time, and the cluster bombs, and it really paid off. I think.
Nice.
I think she won me the game, so it was excellent.
Yeah. So I guess our overall thoughts about this mission is that
it sucks to be the rebels.
It's the Imperials' game to lose.
Mm-hmm.
You can lose it. Be careful. Don't be too.
You can lose it. Don't play the bomber game. Play the just pure damage output game.
Or if you play the bomber game, be careful.
Yeah, and just don't do the TIE Phantom. Like
TIE Phantom, you're just
that's easy mode. Stop doing that.
If you flew the TIE Phantom in this mission, you should think hard about what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
What choices you've made in your life.
Yes. I agree. You're just a bad person if you have. Right. All right. So I think that sums up our podcast overall. So just to reiterate, we're discussing possible T-shirts and such on the Facebook page. So if you want to participate in that, go ahead and join the Facebook page. Or not. That's okay. If you don't want to. I hate Facebook too. So, but hopefully we'll actually get the T-shirt set up soon, and we'll try to actually use the money to buy better equipment and better software, so we don't sound sucky, which is the main idea.
Right.
Right. So basically, if you like the podcast and you want it to sound better, you're like, gosh, I wish those guys, they just sound a little crappy. Hopefully you'll buy a T-shirt and we won't sound sucky.
Right. That is the idea.
Mm-hmm. Then we could hire more Ewok cabin crew, because they've been.
We do need replacements.
Yes, we've had a hard time lately.
I don't think the Ewoks sleeping in the overhead compartments are going to wake up. soon.
Why wouldn't they?
You know what I mean?
I don't understand what you guys are getting at.
Mm-hmm.
They're perfectly peaceful this way. In fact, we should leave them that way. In fact, shut those doors. Don't even bother. Don't bother them.
Well,
don't get your luggage.
Ewoks hibernate. Y'all should know this.
We don't have an intricate knowledge of the anatomy like you do of the Ewoks.
I thought you would by now. I mean, as much time as you spent cleaning one of them out of that, that after that horrible accident. Yeah.
It was a horrible accident, wasn't it? Yeah.
Right, accident, sure. All right, everybody. So I think we're about done here. We're coming up in Endor. I do appreciate you tuning in to the Shuttle Tydirium podcast, and I do hope you have fun playing X-Wing. Playing no matter what you do, tournaments, casual, whatnot. It's all about having fun, and that's the whole point. Excellent. So,
yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
fun.
All right.
Fun,
killing Ewoks, whatever.
All right, I'm not gonna laugh about it. It's too sad. Too sad. But remember, R3.
Always remember. Remember.
R3.
He's with us always.
With us, the J-Bot. In J-Bot.
Literally.
What? All right, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you next trip. Bye, guys.